Thank you all for joining us for the Making Your Group a Success webinar. Before we begin, please note that this presentation is being recorded for educational purposes. At this time, all attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have a question anytime throughout the presentation, please type it in the upper right-hand window and we will answer it after the presentation. If there are specific questions that we can't answer at the moment, we will have someone from our team reach out to you by email within 24 hours. Without further ado, I'd like to hand the mic on over to Meredith. How's it going, Meredith?
Hey, Danielle. It's well, and thank you all so much, everyone, for joining us today. Really excited to talk to y'all a little bit more about our groups program at Europe Express. So I'm hoping that you've experienced us on the FIT side before and maybe even on the group side before, but we want to go a little bit more in depth about why our groups department is so different and so special at Europe Express. So as she mentioned, I am Meredith Harrell. I am the Midwest Sales Manager for Europe Express based in Dallas. That's me, sorry. And then want to go through, these are the 22 countries that we sell. So from Iceland to Western Turkey, from Portugal to Scandinavia. These are the same 22 countries that 82% of all Americans go to when going on a leisure vacation to Europe. So on the group side, there's so many options that can be had. I think a group itinerary is going to be a little bit different than an FIT inventory and what groups are looking for, but it's so nice to know that we have such a plethora of countries that we're able to support your clients going into. So as you know, on the FIT and the group side, Europe Express is your custom go-to one-stop shop. So we're air, rail, hotels, sightseeing, transfers, and rental cars all in one place for you. But I want to give you a little bit more information about us as groups. So for us, a group is 10 or more adults traveling together. I think that that's one of the things that sets us apart off the start. I think one of the only ones who are the 10 or more adults traveling together. So when doing a group with us, your experience will be unlike any booking experience before. You'll have someone who handles and is an expert on all of the details of your trip. Our team designs your trip based on your traveler's interests and needs. The trip is created from scratch with a unique itinerary built. So our philosophy is that no two travelers are exactly alike, so why should your group try to fit into a one-size-fits-all trip? It just doesn't work for everybody. So let's talk about a few of the different types of groups that we support. The first is going to be a preformed group. A preformed group, they have a set itinerary and a firm head count. Typically, the clients already know what they want, and they're just needing you to help make it happen. So some popular preformed groups include special events and occasions. So if your clients maybe have a family reunion, a birthday, a special anniversary that they're celebrating, this would be considered a preformed group because kind of the occasion is already set. I know Karen actually helped with, in our groups department, she actually helped do an anniversary celebration that was also an Outlanders trip themed to Scotland. So that was something that she really enjoyed putting together. Another would be educational groups. So this could be high school groups, colleges, or universities. It could be programs that are looking for study abroad. I mean, I know I have an agent that she does her son's choir group every year, and every other year it goes to Europe, and she books that through us. So there are a lot of opportunities, I think, on the educational side of groups. The other are pre- and post-cruise groups. I think this is one of the kind of key points that people forget about Europe Express on. We do an incredible job on the pre- and post-cruise side, and really our options are going to be so much better than those cruise lines. So we offer accommodations, transfer services, offshore sightseeing for river or ocean cruise ports. So this is really something to think about when they've already booked their cruise and they're looking for something before or after. There's some great opportunities for them to explore the land portion of it before or after. So once you hand over the set itinerary to us, we'll work up a quote and get it back to you within 48 hours on these preformed groups. So we also have affinity groups, and those are usually associated with a club or an organization. So travelers have similar interests or have traveled together in the past. These groups have general ideas or guidelines in mind, but may not have a set itinerary. So some of these might include like the culinary groups and the beer and wine groups. So whatever their taste buds crave, of course, Europe is such a perfect destination for delicious culinary experiences. So we've catered to cooking clubs before, beer lovers, wine enthusiasts. I know we've also recently done a whiskey tour that our groups team really enjoyed putting together. It's important when you're working with these affinity groups if you haven't worked with them in the past, but maybe they've already traveled together, to ask them where they had traveled before and what their experience was like. So the more information you can get from them, the better off it's going to be for us as well. So we can really make sure we're tailoring those experiences to them and their travel desires. So another kind of affinity group would be if they enjoy travel, art, history, or culture. So your client's passion is important to us. Do they want to see the best music, art, or history available? So we can arrange the perfect locations and scenery to suit it. So while we specialize in offering custom services for groups with an existing audience or an idea of a trip, like these preformed or affinity groups, we do also support some speculative groups. We did a kind of big comp set analysis this year, and we found that our spec groups typically have a higher cancellation rate, and we're talking like a 40% cancellation rate. So we ask agents that if you're working with a spec group, we ask that you've worked with that group in the past or have an established network of clientele. So this way we can optimize our time supporting successful groups and supporting you. So if you're looking to get into the groups market and you're going to start with a spec group, have some kind of confirmations before you call into us. So we did a webinar earlier this year, and it was on different group itineraries, some good suggestions for group itineraries. And one of them, we talked about the celebration of the World War I this year, is 100 years. And veterans are a wonderful affinity group because typically they have traveled together. They obviously have very similar interests. So World War I, World War II, that would be a great group to try to send over to Europe. There's so much history for them to explore there. So whatever type of group you're handling, our group specialists are happy to provide a consultation, further possible options, and their best advice based upon all of your experiences. So here's kind of those three types of groups that we have: the preformed, affinity, and the spec groups. So now let's talk about what makes us different. You're probably wondering what makes Europe Express different than your typical tour operator. From start to finish, it's the level of customization and service that we provide. We support you and your clients every step of the way so you have peace of mind and your clients keep coming back. It's really important for us that we are making you look like a rock star as you're working with the group as well. So I want to go through each of these 5 things with you, kind of spend a little time. So the highest level of service. This one, I think our groups team is really, they're so special and they're unlike anyone else out there, and they really take everything that they do to heart. When I reached out to all of them before I gave this webinar because I wanted to kind of pick their brain a little bit, and Karen, she said she wanted to make sure that y'all knew on your side how dedicated they are to each of your groups. Like she said, we take it personally and to heart when groups don't travel. So they are emotionally tied to your travelers as well. So we offer high-end personalized quality services with dedicated teams to focus on logistics and care for your groups. From helping create the itinerary to collecting post-trip feedback, we truly care about every member of your group and that they're being taken care of through the entire experiences. They really do take it all to heart. And like we said, everything is truly customized. Every vacation with us is truly unique and different from any other. That's because we design each itinerary from scratch and give the ultimate flexibility and customization that your group is looking for. We're not pulling from our FIT inventory on any of this. It's all customized specifically for your group's needs. So whether that's a multi-city trip across Italy or a multi-country getaway across Scandinavia, we make sure that your group has the right guides, the transportation, and confirmed services before sending them on their way. When designing the trip, our team understands that even on a group trip, it's important to build in free time for members to explore on their own. Our team excels at coordinating private services for every leg of the journey for a high quality and intimate experience with only their peers. So one of the things that I asked the team about, like, what do you think makes a group successful or makes it more successful? They said, really, if you can give 3 nights, if they're doing a multi-country or multi-city stay, really trying to avoid those 1- and 2-night turnovers. If you have a group who's traveled fairly extensively through Europe and together before, and they're accustomed to those quick moves, but if you're doing a group for the first time or it's their first time in Europe, it's really nice to give them at least 3 nights in a city so they can kind of get settled in and get comfortable, and then with that free time, really spend exploring and getting to know the cities that they're in. So the European expertise, actually this, the picture at the bottom is a group of a few of us, a few of our agents, and then some of the team from the Barcelona office doing a culinary experience that we have in Barcelona It's my absolute favorite sightseeing experience we've ever done, and so great for a group. I actually sent, my parents did a pre and post stay through Europe Express, and I sent them to do the same experience with all their friends. So it's a really great option, and I highly recommend talking to your clients about it. But in case you didn't know, Europe Express, we only sell Europe. So in fact, our team has either lived in, studied, or worked in Europe, giving them extensive knowledge of the products, services, and destinations. So we even have our own DMC located in Europe, which I just said, that's part of the Barcelona team there. So this way you can rest assured that you're in capable hands, even if Europe is not your specialty. So when I was talking to Sue, she wanted me to mention that she's actually been to 32 countries herself, and many of them she's been to several times. So our team, and I know Ken just returned back from London and Paris, where he took his nephew who had never traveled before. So our team is constantly out traveling and exploring and getting to know our products so they can better serve you and your clients. But I do think that that makes a difference, because if you haven't traveled to some of these destinations before, it's okay to ask for help and to need some hand-holding through the experience. That's what our team is there for, and I think that that's what they really excel at. And then the in-destination support. So our priority at Europe Express is to ensure that each vacation booked with us is as seamless, safe, and successful as possible. Your groups will receive 24-hour support with an emergency support contact in Europe should there be any hiccups during travel. Because let's face it, emergencies do happen during traveling, and dealing with a group of passengers can be very daunting. So our team in Europe is dedicated to providing any additional support needed for your clients to get them back on track and get them back enjoying their vacation. I think it's really amazing how they service these groups. So it's sold through our Seattle office. That's where our group's team is based. Well, a few of them are actually remote. But and then it's serviced through both the Seattle office and the Barcelona office. So it's really wonderful that before the travel even happens, someone on the Barcelona team is really well versed in your group. So when they're there in Europe, it does make a difference, I believe, to have someone who's there who knows your group and can support it should a hiccup arise. And then, like we said, the hand-selected services and products. While I don't want to say that there's nothing we can't do, I'll say that there's not much we haven't done. So our extensive product ranges from hand-picked tour guides to specialty accommodations. Just like our FIT department, we have 3- to 5-star hotels. We have very unique sightseeing opportunities, all services of air. We have private transportation and additional services that can be tailored to your group. So as I mentioned before, we don't pull any of our FIT inventory on our groups. It's all specialty contracted. And I think it's really important to know that there are some products available for your group and even more extensive options than on the FIT side when doing it with the groups. So let's talk about how we work with you. I really love this slide because I think it gives a really nice visual of how the planning process works out. So we want to start with the design phase. So share the details of your itinerary at least 10 months prior to departure. We'll begin to work on a quote and help narrow down which details are right for your clients. So one of the things that one of the group's managers mentioned to me that they felt like what was really helpful in planning a group was to have a Pied Piper who really helps rally the troops. So when you know you have that Pied Piper in the group, hopefully that means it'll lead to success. You also want to ensure with the group it's people who know each other and like each other. Even if they haven't traveled together before, it would be nice to know that, they're in some kind of social circle with one another because, as we all know, traveling with people it does change your experience. So you want it to be people that they all share similar interests. So also having a theme maybe that they can relate to. Sometimes that helps even if they don't know each other really well, a theme that they can all relate to. So, and you really want to make sure that you're allowing enough time to promote and market this group. So that 10 months prior is really a good time frame. From there, we're going to go to the deciding part where we finalize the itinerary and provide deposits for attendees. This is going to happen 6 months prior to departure. So we do include a $500 planning fee, and it'll later be deducted from the final invoice. So we're not keeping that fee. It's just a $500 planning fee that goes down, and then it'll be deducted from the final invoice. From there, we're going to go to where we confirm. So we'll arrange all final details, collect the rooming list, all special requests, and obtain a further deposit from each of the attendees. And this is going to happen the 4 months prior. 2 months prior, we're going to collect all final payments. And then 45 days prior, we're going to prepare the travel documents, share details with your group. This is when our team really starts to bunker down for everything for you. So, and depart is when really the experience begins. So we're there to further support your group as they need to enjoy a seamless vacation. And then 7 days after, this is just as important as the preparation time, is we ask for referrals and feedback to further enhance your group's next vacation, and that happens 7 days after return. We'll send over a separate survey asking how we did and what we can work on for their next group. So we really want to make sure that they want to continue traveling with us and with you, of course. It's very important to us. So for more information regarding this group's timeline, there's actually a handout that's attached in the webinar, so make sure to go grab that. I think this is really helpful, especially if you're doing a group for the first time. It's kind of nice to know what the timeline looks like. So I want to tell you about a few recent groups that we've done. The first one I'm going to tell you about is Denise's group, and they were in Amsterdam and Switzerland. There's actually a little testimonial written in there. I won't read it to you, but I want to just tell you a little bit about the group. So this was actually an extended pre- and post-cruise group that had a multi-country itinerary to the Netherlands and Switzerland. For the itinerary, we had Deviator Air, where a few passengers were coming from Atlanta while others were coming from Jackson, which we arranged. We had private transfers set up to pick up the clients from the hotel and take them to the port before boarding. After the cruise was over, we provided their post-stay in Interlaken. From there, they experienced a private sightseeing activity and rail set up to the top of Europe, which is Jungfrau. I know that the driver, even when Denise wrote us a long email, the driver even took a little detour because they had a little time added in there so they could see some better views and allow them to get out of the bus, and really made it a very special experience for them. And then the next one was Jill's group. This was a group of nursing students departing from Detroit to London. They had hotels, sightseeing transfers from the airport, hotel, and rail stations all prearranged through us. However, this group had additional specialties like prearranged 3-course dinners and meeting rooms reserved at the hotel for classroom-style lectures. With their busy schedule of travel and education on their plate, we also ensured that they had plenty of free time on their own to go and explore when they had available. So, sounds like, based off of their testimonial, they also had a really great time. So what's in it for you? We offer 3 reasons. I think that there are actually 3 reasons that you would choose Europe Express for your next group trip. So optimize time. There's something to be said about the one-stop shop. I hate that term, but that's really who we are, and we have to own that. So there's an efficiency that comes to having the one-stop shop. You don't have to worry about logistics, so you can spend more time selling and working on other groups or FITs. So the peace of mind with 24/7 emergency support and knowing that your clients are in capable hands, we hope that you'll have peace of mind throughout the whole process and while they're traveling. And of course, the expertise that you need. Group logistics are hard, we know that. But from the first quote to your client's return, you can trust that we care about exceeding their expectations on the trip, and it's our mission to make you look like a rock star from day one. So how to work with us. The first is, if you're not already registered with us, please go online. It's www.europeexpress.com and get registered with us. You'll see a client login at the top right corner. You can just say, get registered there. We do have a custom quote request form, even on the group side. We have this on the FIT and the group side. You don't have to fill this out, but use this as a guideline because this is the information we truly need to get started on working on that booking. So the more information we have up front, the better it's going to be for you and the quicker the turnaround time is going to be. You can also call into our team. I don't have enough wonderful things to say about our groups team. They are small, but they are mighty. And if you haven't had the chance to work with them before, they are incredible. I have an agent in Oklahoma who did her first group with us last week, and she worked with us a ton on the FIT side, and she has an agent on the FIT side that she just adores working with. And she called Ken, and Ken said, I'm going to be your Ari. And they had the booking turned around. I think it was like 3 days from the quote coming out. She knew exactly what she wanted. She had pre-planned everything, and they had a great time together. So, I mean, our group's team is incredible, and I hope that you have the chance to work with them. So here's a few more resources that we have for you. Our website is just chock full of information. If you have the time, I recommend you go through and kind of go through it. There's some archived webinars on there. Like I said, I gave a webinar earlier this year about some suggested itineraries for groups. There's also, we've been doing a lot more destination-focused webinars. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about France or something special in Spain, go on there and listen to those when you have a chance. Most of them are 30 minutes or under, so you can kind of play them in the background. We also have some suggested itineraries we have a wonderful link to all of our sightseeing options that are off of the shelf available to you. This is really a great way to kind of get inspired for a trip for a client. If you know you're going to dinner with a girlfriend who has been interested in Paris, go through some of the sightseeing options that we have available in Paris and bring it up in the conversation to say, hey, one of my vendors offers this fantastic macaroon baking class in a chef's home. Don't you think that's going to get her mind spinning? So spend some time on our website. There's some important information there. And also, if you're not signed up for our newsletters, when you're on our website, make sure you sign up for those. They are really important. And in the next week or so, we have a really special announcement to be made about the sales team and some new additions that we have. So we can't wait to share the news with you. Wish I could tell you now, but they told me not to, so that stinks. But here are some really important phone numbers to write down. I'll keep it on the screen for a second. So our FIT department, I hope that you've worked with them before. If you haven't, please make sure to jot down these numbers and email addresses as well. And then on the groups department, it's always nice just to shoot them over an email in the beginning, and then they'll get you connected with someone. But it's newgroups@europeexpress.com. And then that's my information. I'll send an email following this webinar, so you'll have my information for any additional questions that come up. But Danielle, do we have any questions as of now?
Awesome, Meredith. Thank you for sharing all that great information. We do have a few questions coming in. One of the questions is, do you offer group itineraries to Oktoberfest?
You know what? Yes, we do. And this year, we always say we can't confirm tent access, but this year we confirmed 5 groups into the tent. Now, I will say they all had a lot of flexibility with their travels, and we're traveling kind of some different days. But Ricarda, who heads our groups department, is actually from Germany, so I think that that's to our benefit. But we've had very successful groups go to Oktoberfest in the past, and we hope to continue sending them there as well.
Awesome. I have a question from Marilyn. Marilyn's asking, where are your offices in Europe?
Hey, Marilyn. We only have one office in Europe, and it's based in Barcelona. And it's really cool how they structure that office. So they handle all of our contracting as well as servicing of the groups and the in-destination support. But on the contractor side, each of the employees is basically responsible for a country, and they travel there about once a quarter to do site inspections and meet with different suppliers. But they are based in Barcelona.
Nancy is asking, Denise is wondering if we ever do groups that, look into family history, ancestral background. Have we ever done groups like that?
I'd have to ask the groups team. I'm pretty sure it has been, with the whole 23andMe and all, I think that has been a very growing market. And I know we've done a lot of families who are going to visit a hometown or something of that nature. I'm certain that they've done groups like that. I could talk to the team to ask them what they've done in the past.
I would think so. They're capable of everything. Let's see. Robin is asking if the planning fee is non-refundable for the group travel.
So, Robin, if the group does not confirm, the planning fee would be retained by us. If the group does confirm and moves forward, it's then deducted from the final invoice. So we put this in place just recently, and it really was to protect you, because a group that is not willing to spend the money, we find are ones that kind of back out more often. So it's only if your group does not confirm that $500 then would be retained by us as the planning fee.
Great, thanks, Meredith. I'm getting questions can you go back one slide, please, for the FIT info?
Perfect.
Yay. Robin is wondering if there's a list of any groups we've done, like generate some ideas. I'm thinking the flyers page. What do you think?
We don't really have, no, and we've talked to our groups team about, because they obviously have so many incredible itineraries that they've built in the past, and we know that you're not going to have a group that fits perfectly into that itinerary. But I'll see, before I send out the follow-up email, I'll see if I can get a few of their favorite itineraries. I know Sue mentioned, like, her favorite itinerary is like a Rome-Venice tour. and see if I can attach a few of those for y'all to look over. But otherwise, yeah, there's suggested itineraries that can be for either FIT or group side on our website, and some different flyers that might be beneficial as well.
Great, thanks, Meredith. Dana is wondering if there's any problems or snags while the client is on the ground. Does the client contact us at Europe Express, or do they contact their travel agent? How does that work?
No, that's the perfect thing. They contact us at Europe Express. So all of their travel documents include that emergency line to the Barcelona team. So there'll be someone who is responsible for the group and who is servicing the group over in Barcelona. So we hope it saves a phone call from you at 3 in the morning.
Who wants that 3 a.m. phone call? Probably not that.
Not me.
Oh, that. I had a question from Belvin wondering if there's any shopping group trips available. I don't see why not. Comparison Milan shopping would be nice.
I would do that tomorrow. You send that group itinerary to me and I'm there. But no, I am sure that there has been. I mean, we have had some crazy groups. One of my cruise planners agent put together a quilting group, and it's like, there are so many people going on this group. It's crazy. I didn't know there were so many quilters in the world. But we have seen, I think, a little bit of everything. So a shopping group, why not?
Absolutely. Or some leather in Florence. Yeah, we can do anything. Renee is wondering, okay, so I know you suggested 10 months for starting to plan, but how quick would we actually be able to get something together?
Are you saying like the shortest amount of time, I'm assuming?
The shortest timeline, yeah.
I don't know what the shortest turnaround that they've done is. I know that they have done them in a fairly quick turnaround. If you have a group who's ready to go and confirmed, especially if it's like a pre or a post-cruise group where there's travel that's already booked, I feel certain they can do them, 2 months before. On our FIT side, it's 7 days prior to departure. I don't know that we have a rule like that in place on our group side, but it would just depend on, obviously, your group and how quickly they could move forward with confirmation.
Great. Well, it looks like we're almost at our 30-minute mark, so I want to get the travel agents back to selling. Meredith, thank you so much for all the great information. And again, if we didn't answer your question right now, we will get back to it later. Meredith's going to send a follow-up with any questions that we didn't get to today, okay?
Thank you, Danielle, and thank you all everyone for joining us. It was really nice to spend a few minutes with you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to assist you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.